Nature can be pretty strange at times. It can be beautiful and fascinating, but also scary and deadly. Hey everyone, and welcome to Science Illustrated. It's all going to be about natural disasters today. There are quite a few to choose from, but we've chosen 6 natural disasters that we're going to take a closer look at today. But before we do, remember that if you like what we do here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to make sure that you don't miss out on a single video. And now, let's get cracking. Let's start with tornadoes. These easily recognizable funnel clouds that can destroy more or less anything in their path. There are different types of tornadoes with different strengths. They're measured on the Fujita scale from F0 to F5. An F0 is the least powerful tornado and doesn't do much damage, while an F5 tornado pretty much pulverizes buildings and whatever is standing in its way when it comes thundering through. In 1925, the Tri-State tornado killed 700 people over the course of 3.5 hours. This is the most extreme tornado ever recorded. It is also the deadliest, with most human lives lost in a single tornado. There are many examples of terrible volcanic eruptions during the course of history, but one of the most famous ones must be Mount Vesuvius, which erupted in the year 79 AD. This particular eruption buried the city of Pompeii in burning hot ash. One of the worst volcanic eruptions we've experienced in recent years was Nevado del Ruiz in Colombia in 1985. This eruption might not have been a great big explosion with the lava all over the place, but it was disastrous nonetheless. Because what happened was that the ice cap and all the snow on top of the mountain and around the crater melted. And when it mixed with ash, it created what is known as lahar. A lahar is a type of mud flow, and this mud flow then thundered down the mountainside at a speed of up to 20 meters per second. It then hit and buried the city of Armero in the middle of the night. Caught in this enormous mud flow, there were very few survivors, and the eruption in Colombia ended up killing more than 23,000 people. An earthquake is not a rare phenomenon as such. In many cases, they're not all that powerful and don't do a lot of damage. In some cases though, it can go horribly, horribly wrong. As was the case on the 12th of January in 2010 when a powerful earthquake hit Haiti. The capital, Port-au-Prince, was hit especially hard. The earthquake itself measured 7 on the Richter scale and lasted less than a minute, but there were also a lot of aftershocks. A large part of the Port-au-Prince metropolis was completely destroyed and thousands of people were killed. Most sources agree that more than 200,000 people lost their lives. But there are also those who say that 300,000 people fell victim to this horrifying earthquake. The next disaster on our list is tsunamis, or giant waves. Tsunamis are as terrifying as they are devastating. The most recent tsunami was in Indonesia at the end of 2018. 2 powerful earthquakes caused a tsunami which hit the island of Sulawesi. The tsunami sent 6-meter-high waves crashing in over several areas of the coast of Sulawesi, where the city of Palu was hit particularly hard. The tsunami was so violent and devastating that more than 1,200 people lost their lives and 50,000 were left homeless. But since the turn of the millennium, we've actually had several tsunamis that have had serious consequences. Back in 2011, there was a similar disaster in Japan, where a combination of an earthquake and a tsunami hit the east coast. 16,000 people died and thousands of buildings were also destroyed. But what made it all so much worse was the fact that the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant was also hit by the tsunami and severely damaged. This led to explosions and the meltdown of 3 reactor cores, causing severe radiation leaks. The Fukushima disaster is the worst nuclear disaster we've seen since Chernobyl in 1986. There is, however, an even more horrifying example of a tsunami, or in fact, several tsunamis. This happened on the 26th of December 2004. These tsunamis were caused by an earthquake in the Indian Ocean which hit several countries. Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Thailand and India were hit the hardest. These tsunamis were really terrifying, with waves of up to 30 meters in height. They washed mercilessly in over these countries and flooded vast areas. This was also a natural disaster with an incredibly high death toll. In fact, more than 225,000 people were killed in the 11 countries where the tsunamis hit. Now we're going to take a look at a weather phenomenon that could also cause serious devastation. Very violent storms, cyclones, typhoons, hurricanes, call them what you will. Take the Bola cyclone, which hit East Pakistan, what we now call Bangladesh, in 1970. The cyclone hit Pakistan on the 12th of November, and prior to it striking, the Indian government had actually received cyclone warnings for the Bay of Bengal. But due to the strained relationship between India and Pakistan, these warnings never reached Pakistan. What didn't help either was the fact that the Pakistani storm warning system and the subsequent relief efforts didn't work very well either. The cyclone then hit Pakistan with the force of a Category 3 hurricane, so it wasn't one of the most powerful. But what caused the mass devastation was the subsequent storm surge. Entire cities were washed away, and on several of surrounding islands, 0 survivors were reported. The exact death toll of the Bola cyclone has never been established, but thousands and thousands of people drowned in the vast volumes of water. The most cautious sources say that a good 300,000 people were victims of the cyclone and the storm surge. But others state that the total death toll was actually around 500,000 people. This makes the Bola cyclone the most devastating and deadly cyclone ever recorded. The last natural disaster on our list could actually be described as a mix of several disasters. We're talking about the 1931 China floods. This is considered one of the worst ever natural disasters, and also the one that cost most human lives. After a prolonged period of drought, the weather began to behave strangely in China in the year of 1930. There were a lot of violent snowstorms in the central part of the country. Come the spring, all this snow then melted, with torrential rain falling at the same time. The rain continued through the summer, becoming increasingly heavy and causing the water levels in the rivers to rise significantly. At the same time, a number of cyclones also hit the central part of the country. No fewer than 9 cyclones were recorded in July alone. The 2 major rivers, Huai and Yangtze, burst their banks. This led to a terrible flood of the city of Nanjing, which was at that time the capital of China. Not only did hundreds of thousands, even millions of people drown in this flood, but many people also succumbed to waterborne diseases such as typhoid and cholera. It is not known for sure how many people actually died from this terrible flooding of Nanjing and the other towns and cities in the region. According to Chinese sources, around 1 million people lost their lives. But other sources suggest that the total death toll is actually somewhere between 3 and 4 million people. Well, it certainly got a little heavy and serious today with all this talk of disaster and human tragedy. Sadly, this is sometimes the case. I really do hope you liked the video anyway though. If you did, please leave a like, that will make me so happy. And of course, if you like what we do here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you always know when we publish a new video. Then I guess all that's left for me to do is say thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.